In this video, I want to talk about the path to getting paid from an absolute beginner in coding to your very first paid position in development. So who's this for? So the main person I want this for is someone who's decided to go down the career path to become a developer, and you haven't gotten your first internship, you haven't gotten a junior position yet, and you're going, okay, what can I do? How can I get there to going from something that I want to learn to actually getting money to perform this? So here's the beginner problem, and I think we've all faced this at some point in time. So you can see the person here up on the top of the wall. That is somebody who's already gotten a job. They're happy. They know how to get up there. People keep offering them more jobs. And you're down here in the bottom. You're one of these two people. You're saying, oh my God, there seems to be so much knowledge, so many things to do. I want to get paid for this, but what can I do? That's your goal. The goal of this whole video is for you to be able to get an internship or a junior level position, like a junior dev. Because once you get there, then you can get up pretty quickly, but it seems like such a big task to get to that point. So let's prepare you for your journey. It's going to be a lot of work. I'm going to give you a lot of things to do, but as you do these things, slowly but surely, it's going to put you in better positions. So when you start applying for those internships, you start applying for that junior level position, all of a sudden you're going to start to, as I always say, make it easy for them to say yes. Make it easy for them to bring you on board. So let's get started. So the first journey for this whole video is we're going to talk about where to start. I'm going to assume that you're just getting started in programming. If you're a little bit further along in the path, you can just start at the step that you want to. So we're going to start there. Then we're going to move to the resources. What should you be studying and where to get your knowledge? Because that's pretty much what development is. It's a knowledge-based business. As you build your skills, as you build your knowledge, that's what you get paid for. Next, we're going to talk about projects to work on so that you can accelerate and expand your options. Finally, we're going to talk about how you can get your foot in the door. Maybe if things are a little more difficult, not a lot of options in your area, what you can do first before you eventually reach your goal, which is paid to code. Now, I'm going to get into my story a little bit in this too, because that was one of my big goals. I remember when I first started and I said, I'm going to change careers. I'm going to go from a radiology tech to becoming a software developer. I was way back here and I go, how in the world am I going to get to here? And I had some bumps along the road. It took me a little bit longer than it should have. I'm very pleased with my end result. I like where I'm at. I like what I'm doing at my current company. But let's see if we can't optimize your journey. Let's see if we can't make it a little bit better, kind of learning the things that happened to me. So let's get started. About me, as I said, I am a senior software engineer. I followed a very similar path. I went to a little bit of community college. I took all the programming classes. And then at the time I was working as a QA analyst, and I realized the code I was writing as a QA analyst was actually much more complicated, harder. So then I kind of stepped along, and we're going to get into that in this video. Authored a book about the job hunting process. Essentially, my book is about resume building, interview prepping. I'll show you how to get a free book on here. You can just have it if you want. It's written primarily for healthcare, but it will work for this. I mean, it's the same sort of thing. And my YouTube channel, the videos I make on here are all about career improvement and developing your career. So let's get going. So we're going to start in the beginning. So first, you say, I want to become a developer, so you're going to pick your first language. A couple options. Now, this is the way I did it. You want to base your first option, get on Indeed, get on some other type of platform, and say, where do I want to work? In my case, I wanted to work in Lincoln, Nebraska. That's where I'm from. That's where I'm filming this. And here in Lincoln, Nebraska, one of the things they do is primarily a lot of the places are C#. So I said, okay, well, I'll learn C#. Because I had dabbled in a little PHP. I had dabbled in a little bit of JavaScript, but I said, well, C# is the way to go. So I looked and I found and go, okay, my biggest chance for getting a job is in C#. So let me get started in that. I do recommend, if you're unsure, JavaScript is a great way to go. There are so many frameworks in front-end development. So I said on here frameworks like React or Vue. There's Angular. I think Ember came and went, but probably, as I've said, the 6 more frameworks have been published already during the watching this video. And while it's a little bit of a joke, they come and go all the time because JavaScript is so well used. There's Node. So if you're unsure where to go, JavaScript's a great one to go to. And then it's always good to have some sort of back-end experience. C#, Python, Java. Any of those 3 are going to do you pretty darn well. And they're going to be kind of, any of those languages are going to build you a really good base to go off of. But if you got to pick, I'd say pick A little bit of JavaScript, a little bit of back end. You do that, you're going to be golden to go. Next, what's your goal this first language? Well, I sigh because the amount of time that I've spent in my career setting up development environments when it's supposed to be easy, when I'm supposed to be able to pull this down or set up this IDE, takes a while. This is going to help you with that first step of going, gosh, how do I even set up a development environment? Because that's part of the process too, unfortunately. They don't all just come out of the box and work. Next, you can learn the basics of programming. What do I mean? There are so many words, terms, things. We're going to get to that in a second. But about programming, what's a method? What's a property? Is it global? Is it local? Sometimes they call them functions. What's a class? What's object-oriented? What's a constructor? There are so many things to learn. And if you start with just picking one language, and you start chipping through it, you're going to start seeing these same concepts over and over. And then if you decide to move to a different language, guess what? Concepts are going to be there as well. And then finally, as I said, you're going to get comfortable being able to use development terms. For example, I said an object. Well, if you're not into programming, you don't know, but as you get going, you're able to say objects, you're able to say factories, you're able to say interfaces. They're all going to start to at least, you might not be an expert at them, but hopefully as you go through some of the stuff I'm talking about, you'll at least hear those terms. And I'll give you a quick example of this. I remember my very, very first internship interview. I went there and I had dabbled just a little bit in C#, and it was for a Java intern. And I said, tell us about what you've done with, what was it? Inheritance. And I go, oh, because I had just barely tapped inheritance in one of the tutorials. And I gave some stupid answer that I'm sure everybody there just rolled their eyes at. So, but at least I knew what it was. And so that's what this is all about. So what's the whole point of my story is that you're just going to get more comfortable with these terms and be able to communicate better with people, especially during this process of getting your first internship. Okay. The last thing is, as you're at the very beginning, don't let people scare you. Okay. There's a lot of knowledge. There's a lot of things flying around. There's a lot of people who in development like to talk about how smart they are and all these things and use one term after another, and seem like it's no big deal. Don't get thrown off by that. Don't get scared. No, it's okay. You'll figure it out. As long as you put in the time and the energy, you'll be just fine. Okay, next. We're continuing our journey. Now we're into resources. We know where to start, but what do you do to start? So where are you going to get your knowledge? We live in an amazing world. Right now, you are watching YouTube to get information from me. There are so many gabillion people that currently every day put up YouTube videos about tutorials. This part of programming, that part of programming. Part of me kind of wanted to make those, then I realized, why bother? There's so much competition and so many good ones out there for free, okay? Now taking us to the next thing. If you like one of these people out there and you go, I love their stuff, a lot of people will offer a good chunk of it online on YouTube for free. And then after that, they'll say, here, come buy my program. And that's what I actually did. And I don't remember who I bought it from. It's been a long time ago, but I watched like the first hour of his video, followed it step by step. It was fantastic. And then I think for like $50 or $100, and this is years ago, he had a course that I could download all the videos and watch them through. And it paid off perfect for me because I enjoyed what he did, and he was a great teacher. And then here's a bonus tip. If you don't know what it means, I do recommend you Google it. Create a repo at GitHub, a free, public, like repo, and then you're going to start putting all the tutorials. So as you go through these things that I'm showing you on here, you commit a little bit, you push up. Again, I don't want to get too confusing in the terms, but that way, as you build knowledge, you'll be able to have these for later. And as you build a nice little repo as we get into projects, that's going to be something employers are going to want to look for. So, who are these great people on YouTube that I recommend? First of all, Programming with Mosh. This guy's awesome. I like his stuff. You can see he has over 1.6 million subscribers. You can see that right there. A lot of his stuff, he'll do like a free hour or two, and then after that, you'll have to buy it. That's fine. For what you're doing, get in there. In one of my other videos, I recommended like an intro to JavaScript that was like an hour. It's great. But whatever language you want to pick, he's most likely done one on. His C# one is good. His Python one is good. Just get in there and try them out. Now this one, I cannot believe exists. It's called freecodecamp.org. Anything you want to learn, they generally have a course. Did you see they have not only 3 million subscribers, but over 1,200 videos. I don't want to get too deep into stuff, but there's a technology called Blazor for C#, and I wanted to learn about it. They have a free 8-hour course that I could take. And I just sat through and kind of listened to the guy talk about it, and I learned all about it. Blazor for free, nothing. And then finally, again, I work in C#. This guy, Les Jackson, he does these tremendously good tutorials where he never gets too deep into anything, but he dabbles in a lot of stuff. So you'll be able to see some aspects of Docker, and that's a little thing. Don't worry too much about it. You'll be able to see some API stuff. You'll be able to see some database stuff. And none of it's too deep, so you don't have to really get into it. You can just kind of actually see and get exposed to it. But here's the one. When the wife, I had changed over jobs, and we were living in Iowa, and we were living in this little rental house until we could find another place to live. And I had my little laptop. This is my boy right here, Bob Tabor. I did his videos. Now, this is a newer one. This one's a lot better. The ones I watched were broken into little chunks. Look at that. 8 hours of content. This is about C# and just how to learn it. He'll sit there and work through it one by one, and you see him down in the corner explaining everything to you. You could probably just go get this one. I have the link in the description. Start this video, go for 8 hours, and you'll have a great amount of base knowledge. So, mad props to Bob. So what to pay for? So really, make sure you tried their programs first. Don't just go buy something without ever seeing it. You want to make sure the person's good. You want to make sure their content's good. You want to make sure that they actually know what they're talking about. 2, if you find something, don't pay retail. I think Kramer and Seinfeld always said, suckers pay retail. Almost all of these sales, unless you really like the person, you want to support them, then pay retail. That's fine. But most of them usually have some sort of crazy deal. Here's one from Mosh. For the first 48 hours, you can take advantage of the early bird pricing, where you'll save even more. Rather than paying the $239, you get the whole products for $199. A buddy sent me one time, which was a full encompassing something like 20 hours worth of content for Python. That was supposed to be, I think it was like $1,500 that you could buy for $19.99. So do keep out, sign up for their list if you like someone. They'll send out these all the time, so you can at least save yourself some coin along the way. Okay, now we're on to our third step in your journey. We know where to begin. We started looking through some resources, but it's time. It's time to build your projects. Okay? So this is how you're going to build your online portfolio. When you go to a job or you go apply somewhere, you'll have or on your resume, you'll be able to put in an opportunity to get like a GitHub free hosted thing. And in there, you can put link after link to all the things you've done. You can put screenshots. You can talk about the type of code you've done. You want to build a nice online portfolio. Maybe you have something in mind you want to do. Maybe you want to be a mobile developer. Well, then you can take screenshots of all the cool mobile stuff you've done. Places that potential employers could download the stuff. They could see it. So you can do that all in like a one-page website that's easy to scroll up and down, that's mobile friendly. And you can host on GitHub for free. You can build out your GitHub repository. So every time you do a tutorial, push that up, make its own repo, make it public, make a nice README so that everybody knows what it's about. And you can do this over and over and over and over. So then if someone asks you about something at some point, you can say, hey, check it out. It's actually in my GitHub repo under this project, blah, blah, blah. I've actually done these. And then also you can use that as a reference going forward for yourself. So say you work on a project, an API, a C# API for a while. Well, then you go over and you start working on mobile. And then a year later, granted the technology changes in a year, but a year later you can say, gosh, what did I do on that API? If you can't find your code, go right up to your GitHub repo. There it is. Plus, it's great to put a GitHub repo on your resume, so it's something to look at and know that you actually have some code. And the thing that helped me the most was, since I was building a project the way I want, I was much more motivated to get it done. Instead of doing some sort of, like when I was going to school, I got kind of bored where they would just say, in this project, build a pizza ordering system and make sure to use inheritance, and then the slices can all have different toppings and blah, blah, blah. Well, no, I said, what do I want to build? So I wanted to build something that looked at stock information. So I built it, and I learned a ton by doing it. Now, what should you include? I recommend these things. 1, some sort of front-end styling. Could be a mobile app if you want to do it. If you're doing a desktop app, make it look all nice. I use C# and we use XAML as our styling. So you can style it up, make it look all nice. Or if you're going to do a web page, it's an opportunity to get some CSS out. Get some sort of, I like Bootstrap, some people don't like that, but some sort of layout framework. So many things to do, and this is a great way to dabble in that so you have a little bit of experience in everything.
got to have some back-end code. Even if you use JavaScript, I do recommend looking into Node.js, but you want to have some sort of back-end code in there. It's cool and all to make a web page that just like, I made one that was a binary calculator. Didn't do too much. You just put in numbers, it converted to binary, added them. But if I had thrown some back-end code on there so that it could have gone and hit a server, so I could have done some server-side rendering, could have done all sorts of cool stuff. Finally, this one gets a little more detailed, or maybe a little harder, but you're going to want to get some sort of experience with a database. I like Entity Framework. We use Oracle. What's another one that's any kind of document database like MongoDB? Try some of those out. See what you like. So that way when you go to an interview and someone asks you later, you can say, I have experience with this. Now, always be warned, nobody knows everything about all databases. So if someone does, they're full of it. Even a database administrator probably only knows one type of database or a couple really well. So if someone tells you they know everything, they're full of it. And here's a bonus. If you have the opportunity, if you're really catching on, if you have a lot of time, if you can do any kind of cloud-based thing, anything in Azure, anything in Google, or anything in AWS, that's awesome. Throw it on there. Looks good. It doesn't even have to be anything too advanced. If you just got in the practice of putting images in your storage containers in Azure, or you use some sort of audit table that you put in Azure under the storage tables. I mean, those are super simple things, but at least you can get used to using those. You can use an API. Maybe you made a Lambda function, AWS. And then containers. I'm not going to get deep into those, but everybody loves containers. So if you can get yourself a tutorial or at least get some practice with containers, commit some of that up there so someone else maybe can look at what you've done. It's great stuff. Okay. And along this path while you're doing your projects, it's time to get some help, because even though you're going to be working primarily alone when you're in a dev environment, getting some help would be great, because what you can do is you can get used to talking to other people through your code. So first thing you can do, the best thing you can do, is if you can find someone to be your mentor, that when you can get ideas from, you can go kick things back and forth, they can look at your code, they can do pseudo code reviews, they can do all this stuff. This one's hard to find because it is a little bit of work. A lot of offices that when you go work in a place will have a junior person, they'll have a senior person be their mentor, so that there's just someone to kind of help out. Because a lot of times you just get stuck and you don't know what to do, and a mentor can really help you push through those obstacles. Next, there's a lot of coding groups online. There's a lot of ones on Facebook. There's a lot of ones other places. Meetups. I don't know what your situation is. Right now, I'm filming this in April 2021, so COVID's kind of winding down, but who knows what the future holds for us. If things go back to being in person, find a meetup group where you can go code together. Conventions are gathering. I love me some conventions. I've gone to a couple online ones. I like the ones in person because you get to meet some people and talk to them. Again, COVID's really slowed that down the last year. And then finally, maybe you just know someone who's a computer programmer, and instead of a mentor-mentee relationship, it's just somebody every now and then when you get stuck, you can fire a question to, and they can help you solve those problems. Okay, so we started off. We found our resources. We're building our projects. It's time to get in. So what is the best thing to do is gain employment at a software company. Now, instead of telling you step by step on how to do this, I will say, I'll tell you my story real quick, and then you can take what I've done in my story, and hopefully you can do it a little bit better and faster. Okay, first thing I did, I wanted to be a software engineer, but I didn't know how. I didn't feel like I had enough experience. That very first picture where it was a person looking up at a big wall, I go, I don't know where to start. So I interviewed at the place I told you where I had a horrible debacle of a interview for a software engineering intern. Well, luckily they had a project management intern. About a month later, they called me and said, hey, is this something interesting? And I did. I jumped in on it. So the very first thing is I got in there. I started working in a software company so I could learn the process, learn the lingo, get to work with other people in network. But B, I got paid. It wasn't very much, but I got paid. So the next thing I did that internship for about 4 or 5 months, maybe 6 months. I don't quite remember. But then a buddy goes, hey, at our place, we're looking for a QA analyst. You interested? And I said, well, this is a long, because an intern thing's only generally for a little bit. Yeah, let me in on the part-time QA analyst. Then I did a good job. Boom, got moved into full-time QA analyst. So once I was full-time, I started picking up more projects. I started trying to do as best I can to add automation to all my testing and stuff like that. So then at my job, eventually, one time I was able to say, hey, there's an opening for a software engineer. Guess what? I already work here. I already know the product. I already know the process. And I've been going, because I went part-time to school at our community college here in town. Great program. But again, as I said, I was writing more in-depth scripts, more in-depth tests at work than I ever was there. So I said, hey guys, how about me getting in that position? And bam. Then I got myself into a full-time development position. And then once I was at that full-time development position, so then all I had to do is every day study, learn, work. And I'm going to get to that in more videos, but the hardest part was done when I got, well, I don't know if the hardest part's done, but the entry-level part was done. So this book that I have right here that I wrote covers a lot of that topic about getting your foot in the door at places. Granted, it's for healthcare stuff, but just if you want it, it's free. Just email me, contact me, Twitter me, whatever. I'll just give it to you. It's in a PDF form. You can read it, see what you like, whatever. So that's the process. Now, it's time. I'm going to do a whole series on videos about the idea of how to prep. There's plenty of good videos online about how to prep for interview questions, resumes, stuff like that. I'm going to do more of that if you find me to be helpful, but that's the goal. And hopefully you've done all this stuff. You've led yourself up so when the time comes for an interview, you can say, yes, I've picked my front end and back end language. Yes, I have tons of projects. Yes, I've been working with a mentor. And if you started working at a software company, you can say, yep, I already work at this software company. Maybe you might work in support. Maybe you might work in QA. Maybe you might work in product or project management. And you can slide your way in there. And then once you've done that, you interview. And I guarantee places are hungry. Places need developers. And if you're willing to set in and say, I'll take an internship, or I'll take a junior development position, you get yourself in. Because then, man, you've done it. You can celebrate. You can get pumped. And I've laid out the process. So hopefully you can follow this process. You can knock it out of the park. You can get yourself a good portfolio, a good GitHub repo. You can get yourself some basic knowledge, knock out a project, get yourself a mentor, do some networking along the way, get yourself a job at a software company, and then booyah, eventually get paid to program. That's all I got for you. Hopefully this video helped you. If you have questions about any of this process, I leave my email in the description. I have a contact form. You can just fill it out. And it doesn't put you on a list or anything. It's just a Google form. Or you can hit me up on Twitter. I'll post that in the description below. As always, hopefully, if you enjoyed this content, I work really hard to make sure this stuff's good. Give me a like. Subscribe to this channel. I'm going to be posting more stuff like this. Feel free to share this. And if you want to comment, maybe I missed something. Maybe there's something you like. Hopefully this helps you. All right. Take care, and thanks for watching.